Like the video. Hello, hello, hello. Audio check 1 2 3. Audio check 1 2 3. That sort of thing. Okay, so like the audio check's okay. All right. All right. All right. We're gonna do it. All right. I'm gonna pause it. All right. Hello and welcome to the stream. We are doing it live on the Tech Tinktronics channel. Yeah, I'm not used to doing the live thing and all that, but you know what? We're gonna give it a shot. An interesting, thing came up where, I have this box of tapes, and this box of tapes was kind of like my data as far as music is concerned and all that good stuff from back in the day. And the thing with that is that I didn't have a computer back in all, I didn't have any means to that was affordable to me to do anything with the music and all that stuff. So what happened was, if I wanted to record music, I started back when I was a kid, like working with tapes in the 80s. And then, as time went on, I found that, I could record music and this, that, and the other. And that was pretty cool. So, you know, what happens is technology has progressed. So what happens is I ended up getting into computers, understanding them, taking them apart, putting them together, and that sort of thing. And you know, it was like, man, what can I say? It was like, okay, I put the box of tapes aside, but at one point I did a project. I had a working tape deck, and I was able to go through the tapes to some extent and take a look and see what was available and all that good stuff. Well, I don't know how well I did it. I didn't really have a specific system for doing it. And the objective here is, you know, um, if there's anything I missed on them tapes, I might want to grab it, or I might want to find other stuff that I may have missed, like, or lost, or have no clue where it's at. It's not like pointing and clicking, like, what we have here these days, where you can see what, things are at. It wasn't that way. It wasn't always that way. It was kind of like you had memory, this, that, and the other. Well, with that in mind, let's get started with like some intro. Welcome to the chat. If you're in the chat, feel free to participate in the chat. Say hi, this, that, and the other. Cody Gaming 92. Welcome to the chat. If you're on the live, enjoy. If you have any questions, feel free to, ask as we go. I think what I'm gonna have to do is load the chat on this other screen in a minute here so that I can actually get this thing going. Let's see what we got. And let's see what we have. Let's start the streaming intro. Hold on, I gotta hook up the mic. Okay. Let's see where my mic is and all that good stuff. It's like yeah, it's the one thing that makes it hard to stream in this is that you have to I guess have like your a stream deck or something like that, but you know, I'm not worried about that. The only okay. Test. All right, so I want to see if I could get this USB reference. Yes, sources, USB mic, copy. Just having a minor little tech issue on it, just make sure that and it does. I think we have some audio being picked up. All right, and now I'm just gonna get support with the repair. Thank you to all my subscribers and all those that showed up. I really appreciate you. You could have been anywhere else but here, but you chose to be here. So let's get this party started quickly. And we got quite a bit to do, and it's a lot. So um, at the end of the day, I'm gonna just look it up and go forward with it. Um, so the problem here is, as explained, it's old technology. It's more for a project, this, that, and the other. It doesn't play the tape. That's the most critical thing. I mean, of anything, it could have maybe played. It could have done all kinds of things, but it really didn't do anything. So for both decks, it's a double deck system. The JVC TD-W354. It's a pretty advanced tape deck for the tape deck operation, and yeah, it's really tough. All right, me. There we are. So there we go. All right, don't want this. All right, this is just so I could keep an eye on things. However, we're gonna get it started and just get this repair done. Um, whether you're with it or not, we have a couple of tools at the job. The repair is basic, and as we shouldn't really have to solder too much or anything like that. As a matter of fact, it's a pretty good shape unit. You know, I don't see anything major out of proportion. But here's the deal: what's happening is like it won't play the tape. So what we need to do is basically we need to um, disconnect the faceplate, which contains the tape deck mechanism and all that, to make it accessible. Now, you have a couple of ways that you could go about doing this. Uh, you could unscrew the this well, this board here, which is the display board at the front, and make sure you unplug it first. Everything's unplugged, confirm, and then go about taking the face by flipping the unit over and unscrewing it from the bottom. So what we're gonna do basically is, I mean, it's kind of like it's up to you as to what you do with this unit. Um, what I do today is you want to before you do anything, you want to take note of all the connections that you're going to disconnect and how they lay in there. If anything, you want to be careful as to not to force anything out, as uh, any damage that you do would probably cause like quite an issue, as far as nobody's making these things anymore. Heck, nobody even really cares about these things anymore, and I get it. I mean, the uh the thing about the tape is like when you hit the rewind, you gotta wait, be patient. So that was a totally different thing back in the day. And then you got to you know um hope that you don't have a big mechanical failure. So without no further ado, I want to get this done. Um, we're 11 minutes into the video. If you're watching and all that stuff, be sure to hit the like, as and if you have any questions, engage in the chat and this and the other. I think we need to check on Nightbot and see what's going on there. Make sure Nightbot's awake. I'll do that. Nightbot.tv. And so one messages, no commands, no timeouts. Pretty good. Let's see. I gotta get my commands. Let's see what we got. Custom. All right. So yeah, I just want to do a test. Really, just messing around. See what we got here. And, I don't know if this Nightbot is alive yet or what the deal is. I am not sure. Is it even a... Okay, so it's a moderator command that I'm looking at. All right. Well, what if I do... All right, Nightbot's in the chat. We're ready to go. All right, let's go forward. I got quite a bit to do. I'm going to try to work this one angle with this camera and all this stuff, but all right, here's the plan. We're going to do it this way. We're going to start by disconnecting the ground and stuff. The ground wire can be seen. I'm going to up it. That's one of them. And it has one for the other side as well. We have the display cable right here that we want to disconnect as well. Also, too, before I continue, let me see if you want to share your channel, you can do that too. That's what I have the Nightbot for. So, welcome to Techtronics channel. That's what it looks like, type of thing. Let's go. Yeah. All right. So yeah, definitely tune in. We got more content coming up on the channel. I don't care if you come here or not. I'll do it anyway, because at least I get a recording and I get something done out of it. That's the kind of thing I'm all about here. If it helps you, good. If you're watching a replay, you're not subscribed, be sure to subscribe. This, that, and the third, and we're gonna get it popping. All right, so back to this. All right, so we were talking about at the point. All right, the first things first. Everything's unplugged for this unit here. We have the grounds to disconnect, and that's going to involve a screwdriver. We're going to disconnect the ribbon cable for the display board, and then at some point we want to pull the display board. So it's a question of, I was asking, should I pull the display board off first and remove it, or should I take the display board off and the faceplate as a unit? The mechanics of the tape decks are built into the front face of the unit. Genius and very good, and I mean it is what it is. I guess that's the way it was built at the time. It was awesome, and for what it was. So yeah, let's get this party started right away, and we should be good to go. All right, so there's quite a bit of work here. We got one angle, we got two decks, I don't care if it takes 6 hours or whatever. We're gonna get it done. At the end of the day, I get a deck working again. Now, rewind and play works. No, rewind and fast forward works, but the actual thing of the play does not work. Now, when I switch heads, it's a reversible unit. I hear the clicking regarding that, so that part works. So let's see what we can do here. So, um, without further ado, I'm gonna start pulling apart things here now, and you have to have kind of a photographic memory. If you don't put things back together, it's not exactly gonna work exactly the same or correctly at all. This is a real precision operation. It's almost like, I don't know, man. It's like, I mean, there's tolerances and there is what you call okay, the tolerances and the uh, thresholds type thing. You know, these are engineering specifics that the company will have that data and this, that, and the other. Some of it is available online. Cool. But this project is not that extensive to the point where you would need such. Right, so right off the bat, I'm going to go for this other ground wire and see if I can, you know, get that out the way. Now, this ground wire is, one ground wire on this side came and went to the case chassis. This one over here is going to the main board. Now, when I looked at this tape deck, I really thought it was very complex as compared to other tape decks that I took apart in the past. As a matter of fact, its technology reminded me of, you know, VCRs in the sense that you have the servo technology that's required to make this stuff work. Now, here's a couple of things to pay attention to that we'll get to that in a minute, but like looking at it from a different angle, you'll see things as you go. So now we have the grounds disconnected from where they originally were. One was on the case, one was on the main board. It makes the connection by taking a screw and being a conductor into the main board through the to the case. All right, now I am going to go ahead and pull that ribbon cable for the display. I am also going to pull these cables down here, these ribbon cables, which would probably be for the heads, and they're in here at such a weird angle. And I know it's hard to see what I'm talking about, so we'll try to make do with this camera here, and maybe shine a little additional light on something to get this point out. You know, it's a weird angle. I understand the convenience of manufacturing, but the way these things are put together, it's amazing. And this is, you know, from a manufacturing perspective, you know, like, how do they do it and do it so many to get enough units out the door to make a profit, if you will, you know? Because, I mean, my fingers are pretty small, but here's the thing. Like, you gotta be careful. You wanna ease that ribbon cable out, and it's gonna be a piece of work to get back in, because you have to line it up. It has to be stiff and firm, and it has to slide in. All right, so that's done. All right, now there's this, I know it's hard to see, but you're gonna have to bear with me. All right, so let me get a light and shine it in there as well. Point this out. You know what would be real handy? A laser pointer. All right, there's these connectors. They appear to be, I mean, the geometry, if you will, is quite strange. I don't know exactly what it's about, but I can only speculate. But it comes up off the board through a little ribbon, or, you know, ribbon one cable thing, and then it makes a connection to a little piece of a board here. And then what happens is it's going to the to the front with the buttons and the knobs. So it must be you know it must be these audio knobs at the front of it. Okay, cool. All right, so let's go. All right, now what we need to know is we got another piece to disconnect as well. Now, when I was over here, working with that piece, the same thing is over here for that deck. That needs to come off as well. Maybe we could see if we could get a closer look here without knocking anything down or something crazy like that. All right, so we got one of those, pieces over there too. So the best thing to do is rotate the unit to make it easy, in the sense that you have to make it bring things. You could leverage your reach, so to speak, to make things a little bit easy. So it wouldn't be feasible to be over here trying to work at it and that stuff. So let's go. Let's go. All right. Now we got the ground disconnected, and we are working to get this other piece disconnected. I'm gonna maybe slide it over here. Okay. All right. All right. So what I'm trying to get at is right there. I know it's really hard to see. This camera doesn't exactly do it justice, but it's the little angle thing that correlates to, it appears to correlate with what would be a connection to the heads. All right, so here it goes. We're gonna kind of sneak in there, and it's gonna be a piece of work to get back in, but it's very important to get it back in correctly. It's any other. You can't get it with one hand. Maybe try with another hand and a better grip. Maybe you might have to wiggle it, and that works too as well. All right, so that connection is done. So now we have, I know it, we have another connection, and I know it's hard to see this, but it's kind of one of those weird angle thingies that I was talking about, where it comes up off the board to a short ribbon cable. I thought that none of that disconnected, and really all it takes is a simple thumb, and it like pulls it up. All right. So after this last ribbon cable, we're done as far as disconnecting cables regarding the face. Okay. Now I want to revisit that discussion I was having with, should I take this part off first, and and then take the rest of this off. Here's what I say now. Maybe it would be better just to take this off as a unit. But what I'm talking about is the front of the face and the whole take that assembly thing. Take it off as a unit. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Then I'm gonna remove this to get it out the way. And the whole purpose is to hopefully get access to just the decks themselves. We want to get the decks, the core deck. It should fit in the palm of my hand. This metal piece in my hand type thing. All right, let's get going and let's see what we could do. All right, everything's disconnected. So to get this going, you would have to get to the bottom of the unit, if you will. That's what that's it. Get to the bottom. Okay. Now there's a screw here, screw here, screw here. Let's go. Also, the thing about this is you kind of have to remember what screws are where. I kind of get an idea if you get the wrong screw in the wrong place, or you have to pay attention to the screw count and a whole bunch of other things and the situation for the screw and that and the other. And it's like a puzzle, whereas you have to kind of think forward and backwards through the whole operation. You really can't miss too much of a step. If you do, like taking the case of the laptop thing, when I did the laptop on previously in the channel, I forgot to connect the battery at reassembly, and essentially we had to. Luckily, I had the electronic screwdriver. I had to undo it all again and this that and the other. It was kind of edited in a way, but like I didn't want to re-show that part. But, hey. So we have the screws lifted out of the face plate. Now you want to. I guess we could rotate it there. It's flimsy because I can feel the face just kind of shaking a little bit. And I want to guess how I want to go about it. Maybe I want to flip this unit. I know this isn't the best angle and this, that, and that. We're just gonna have to let's see. All right, see what I could do to get this off. Let's see, how do we go without it? So I think what I'm gonna do is see, everything should come off nice and easy to a certain extent. So we really need this piece. Yeah. I need to take a look. This is like, it doesn't exactly want to come off peacefully, so to speak, or easily, or without resistance. But what's holding it? You have to kind of look on the bottom, and it's holding it tight, but it's flimsy. There, this looks like. Now there seems to be a. Not sure that these are the source of the stoppage in terms of getting these off, but I will move the shoes just to do that. I will do it. That really helped the equation. Didn't think so, but it needed. Okay, so I just wanted to see if. All right, so with that, what would be holding it on at this point? So these are things that like I wouldn't know. So it's a Steve thing. And additional light helps. So the face wants to rock back and forth. We're not quite ready to pull it off or forward. Let's try a couple different things. Maybe work at it, because at the end of the day, I don't know exactly. Let's see. We're gonna just kind of work at the different angles and different things like that. Investigate where we can. It's a matter of, hey, can I go this way? What is holding it? And it doesn't really reveal. Because I took the screws out. Let me just see. I have to look at it. This is critical. All right, so now leaves me have to pull like a different trick. This is a thinking. There's really no rush here. The whole thing is you take your time, do it as correctly as possible, because there's no such thing as spare parts in this version. Why is this fixated so like it's glued? Man, at this point. All right, so like I'm gonna have to say, it's one of those deals where I'm gonna pull the headset. Might take me. Piece is gonna slide. So this is a situation where there's quite a bit of resistance. You have to kind of poke around and look into what's causing all the resistance. Sometimes it could be ever clear and present. Sometimes it could be hidden. But maybe a smudge tool will probably help you out. Oh, okay, sorry about that. Okay, the one thing is that I didn't necessarily need to remove the stand foot, but because but this is like weird how this is like I unscrewed it, but it's glued at this. There's something I'm missing here. It's definitely. Hmm. This is here. Closer look. Okay. I think there's a different angle. See that side. And you know what? You work it at a different angle. Too. Comes right off. Wasn't pretty. By any means a stretch imagination. But it slid right off beautifully. Now, so essentially, what we have here is really like this board here is kind of like, it transfers power and does different things, get things different around. One of the main things is getting audio and things like that and dealing with display and that. So it's like kind of the main board of the unit. So nothing's moving but electrons and things like that. I did a quick glance over the capacitors. They seem to be in pretty decent shape. There's no bulges that I can see. So good side. as far as the that's concerned. Now it's time for the meat situation. I guess according to this stream thing, it's looking like we were here for 35 minutes. You know what I mean? All right. So, all right. Next is like I want to do a general inspection because I watched videos about this unit as well, and I just want to be aware of if there's any cracks before I go forward. Now, the thing is, to get the display piece out, it shouldn't be too hard. I'm going to start by disconnecting that. Now, one of the things is, this is a little bit different than, like, say, the average can take apart a computer. Also, too, while we're here, I was recommended to use like a towel or something like that, so that you don't want to scratch up anything. Well, let's see. We got to get at it. It looks like the display could come off so that we could have a little bit of ease in terms of getting at the deck unit. Well, let's go. Let's go. Get fit on. I think that this bit suffice is not that big of a screw. Let's go with this here. And by the way, I'm just not putting the screws away haphazardly. I have the magnet pad for the screws, and I'm like doing like kind of like a pattern that's kind of like, you know, what I'm gonna do first. It's kind of like when you're driving somewhere, you know, you gotta go here first, you gotta go there first, this then the other. Do any of it wrong, then you gotta back up and kind of, you know, retrace your steps. This is kind of the same thing, you know, if you really think about it. I enjoy it. This is my heart and soul here. This is kind of one of the things I like to do at the channel. It's kind of a shame that people are not really into it, but hey, I love it. So now it looks like in addition to those screws, you have notches to pull this out. Let's see what we could do about getting some movement regarding this board. See what kind of give we can get, I guess. It's a very delicate board indeed. Also too, you gotta look and see what's notching it in there, if you will. See if maybe you could use, like, say, some smudge tool to, like, I have a nasty habit of using, like, say, the nails. This stuff is a lot stronger than your nails. Don't be like me and, like, do that, because you'll ruin your nails and you try to have to go clean them. So what else is holding this on? So you have to kind of do the math, so to speak. So, I mean, because this is a JVC unit, you know. This is a puzzle. It's like a game of chess, you know. Yeah. So I'm really curious as to what we could do in terms of getting this board off. Where is the give in terms of what it's willing to do? And you'll find that, oh, okay, there are some connectors in terms of this. I don't know how well you see it, but this is a board to some servo motors regarding this one over here would turn the head around for the auto reverse situation. This motor here appears to run the spindles or the pulleys that pull the reels. And this motor here appears to run the capstan and all that good stuff, if I'm determining it correctly. All right, so this board gave here, but it's not exactly giving it here. But I wonder if it's a simple pull to the back or away from the face that would help in a strategic location. And sure enough, Yeah, don't get scared of how it flies apart, but just be prepared to catch it when it does. Okay. Now here we are. We got the display out and all that stuff. This is what it is, you know. I mean, pretty good electronics for its day. Connectors. One of the things we could do as well. Wow, this is some pretty complex stuff here. I think one of the things we could do with this is maybe blow off some of this as far as the connectors are concerned. Even though this part I'm not really wasn't the target of my attention in terms of this case, but I'm just going to blow out the connectors with this duster. And just go out. And these connectors are inside. So it appears to feed data to the display regarding the decks in terms of, you know, maybe the counter and other telemetry functions in the deck, if you will. I think, you know, talking telemetry. So it's like kind of like the computer knows a little bit about what is going on with the deck and that sort of thing. So we'll put that aside. And, now we are kind of where we need to be, and this is everything's disconnected as far as the main heart and soul of the unit. Even also these complex connectors could be dusted as well. Now some of the other functions is like you have these connectors, we may as well blow them out. All right. Now, I like this duster motor, as in we got like a light on there. We can kind of get like a look at the belts. I didn't really feel anything noticeable. There's now I thought it was just one belt or two or so or whatever, but it appears to be like this belt here. What this motor does, it appears to it's like they have three motors. One turns the head for the auto reverse. One other motor deals with rotating the flywheels for the capstans and the pincher and wheels and that assembly. Then you have to deal with the sprockets that turn the reel. All that stuff moves freely in my initial investigation. So it was something about something was not getting data in terms of what you need in terms to get the deck to work. So now, what comes next? What comes next? All right. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. We're going to have a drink. Good. And just take a little breather. I have to drink tea, a good approved tea, in order to quench my thirst, but not only that, kind of lubricate my mouth in conversations. Now, back to what we're doing. Now, this is the next part of the operation. We got the recording deck and we got the play deck, right? What needs to happen next is I'm going to take one deck off at a time and I'm going to work it in my hand. And I thought at one point I had to take the doors of the thing off, but then I thought it over and I was like, you know, maybe that's not really an ideal step in order to do. Now before, well, yeah, let's go for that. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go for one deck. We're gonna do this recording deck. we're gonna do an extensive little job on it. What's gonna happen is we're gonna have to pull screws and also the ground wire is screwed in, so you have to pay attention to that and remember that. Also, too, the advantage of making this video is if I mess up, I got a reference. As a matter of fact, I have to denote this somehow, some way. So a smart thing to do is to leave that screw down. Now, for this particular deal, my deal is we're going to deal with one deck removed at a time. Okay? One deck removed at a time. All right, now pay attention to this. There is a spring here. Doesn't have too much tension, but anything you see is there for a good reason. And I just want to give kudos to the people who designed this stuff back in the day, because before the computers and this, that, and that, and all that came along, it was really this was what we had to work with, you know. This was state of the art for a tape deck. When I had to actually, before I approached this project, I had to actually change my mindset about tape decks, as in purely mechanical. But remember that the date and the time that this came out, when it came to us, things were getting electromechanical and digital, you know? So things were changing right in front of our eyes. All right, let's go with this deck here and let's see what we get to do here. What is it going to give us? It comes right up for the most part, I guess. Okay, except for the spring deal. Let's see what this deal. Oh, okay. It's all together now. All together now. That was really easy, right? That came right up as far as all right, so now you can move that to the side for now, just keep everything balanced. All right, so this is the one of the control the buttons, control and this, that, and the other, faceplate, this, that, and the other. So these, you know, this is what I was talking about with the short ribbon cable and the angle straight to the board. Everything we saw, something like this for a repair shop back in the day, you probably would have had to get a lot of information. Now let's take a look at the deck itself. There's probably been worse. You've probably seen better. Now, what we have to do, and I just want to point out, because at the end of the day, the belts, there's nothing seriously wrong with the belts. Everything in that department kind of rotates freely. So we're not going to replace the belts in this particular deal because I'm not looking for much more mileage out of this. I have a box of tapes that I want to do, and that's that. All right. So what we're going to do is see that all these parts rotate freely. There's no mechanical jam. And there's this servo. It's able to freely rotate and provide power to drive that spindle there. It's able to do the same for the reverse function. So what's happening there, right? That's interesting. So that's what I'm going to do about that. All right, so just to review, as a precautionary measure, we went back and kind of did the duster on top of that just to make sure the connections are solid. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to dust the face, because the face of this was behind all of this. We're actually going to, maybe, we could dust this just to start, because this is a real sensitive matter here. And look at the shape of the parts here. Make sure they're not rotten and all that stuff. And I see some material, as far as, say, it looks shiny, this, that, and the other. I don't have a tape cleaner per se, but what I can do is bring in the 99% rubbing alcohol to work on this situation. So the first thing I want to do, right, is I want to get the dust, right? Then I'm going to remove the protection pieces from this. And before I do that, let me go back, get what I needed for that. The recommended thing is like some sandpaper. I'm not sure I have sandpaper. All right, well, so we're gonna have to kind of make a substitute. Bill. We're gonna have to make a substitute and go for that sort of thing. All right, stay tuned. We're just stirring it up. All right, let's go forward with this. All right, now we don't know if this file is might be a little bit much. So this is a critical thing. So we're gonna have to say, what can we do with this file? Can we get into these pieces with this file? Do we have to modify this file? It's kind of coarse. It kind of serves the purpose of what the sandpaper was intended for, but I didn't get out to get sandpaper. That's and getting these sensors, whatever they are, and this is just the recording deck here. So there's like, you know, there's the record options, there's the metal option, this, that, there's, it's like we're looking at 5 sensors. These 5 sensors are protected by like a piece of plastic. Um, and what I was thinking is that might be issue. So if you actually think like this cassette here, it might not be receiving the signal that there's a tape in the deck available for play. So without further ado, let's continue on. All right. We want to get the duster going. There's nothing too delicate that it wouldn't hurt. All right. So you address just like the general dust on the face of this particular apparatus here. Um, Now, in addition to these sensors, which are basically switches that make a simple connection and feed it back to the main board or the main processor that kind of is on off this, that, and the other, determines what this, that, and the other is going to do next, or disables certain functions when certain sensors are not making a connection. All right, so the things I want to address is, what is this? Okay, it's crud. It's hard. Let's see. These wheelies here, I guess you could say, these rollers, wheel, this, that, and the other. It's not for this project really worth replacing. It's kind of a nice to do, but that would probably cost more. So a simple like cleanup is what I'm gonna work at. So whether you got the chicken or the egg, you gotta kind of figure out which one came first. So I have the rubbing alcohol. I also have cotton swabs. So that area I'm gonna work at just first. This is a critical area. Now this is important because what happens is you want to get the most. I mean, for me, I want to get the best sound quality out of these pre-recorded tapes. It's really a time capsule to back in the day, and so we want to clean these little things thoroughly. So that was the major benefit, getting this part out. I just want to get what's off this off. I'm not sure that you want to like use alcohol. Avoid touching it too much, getting your sweat on it and things like that. But you know, if you, what we'd do is we can go over the roller and just get at it to get the stuff off with alcohol because it looks shiny, and you know, we're kind of using this cotton swab piece to kind of just, you know, roll the roller along and then kind of clean it up. And I mean, you could see like a little bit of dirt, you know what I mean? This, and to give a little bit of history, if you I don't know, we got this thing in the mid 90s. That's when I saw this. I used to play my demo tapes on it. It used to sound all great on the system, house system, big speakers at the time, you know. It was the thing. And that's what people did. They had big house systems. And at the end of the day, when you look at the electronics inside, it was just taking up more space than it really needed to. And now things are like you get boom boxers that are what you call it, you know, that are you know, connectable by you know, to the system through say, keyboard, like the different is that it's wirelessly connected to your keyboard or to your computer, I should say. And it's great, you know what I mean? I guess it's the Bluetooth technology, you know, and they have these Bluetooth speakers that are way smaller than what we were used to back in the day. All right, so I mean, you can clean off different areas of the roller, and how much detail you put into it, detail, love, and care you put into it is up to you. I like things to not only look good, sound good, but work good as well. So even the side of this roller is game for this operation. Um, you may not get it all, but you want to get most. And at the end of the day, you want a smooth um, thing to whereas this mentions the tape being pulled through the head situation type thing. So it's important that this is, you know, clean and stuff like that of debris or any kind of film that would, you know, get in the way or cause different things or certain issues. Now, one of the things you have to look out for with tape operations is this thing called I don't know what I call it, but it's where, you know, it spits out all your tape. You know what I mean? That's There's hazards to running tapes. There's like physical hazards to running tapes that did really benefit this technology. All the mechanics of your tape that have to be kind of top spec to. I mean, it's like if you think of a jet engine, you have to. There's different tolerances, and there's all kinds of disciplines and science and physics, and it's amazing how it all works together. It's like a concert, and at the end of the day, music to my ears. So when I'm not on here, I'm actually watching stuff like streaming aviation videos and stuff like that. So as done for this side, I'm gonna get it up in a light here. Let's see, I know the focus is off a little bit. I mean, it's not gonna be perfectly showroom clean, and maybe, you know, these things seem kind of hard, but it is what it is. Like, you don't want to touch it too much, but I needed to get that data to know kind of what I'm dealing with in terms of material wise. Um, but we're not looking for longevity per se because this technology is not feasible today. The only reason I'm here today working on this technology is for a couple of reasons. Is I actually have some old tapes that I want to take a check, you know, go through and see what's going on with, and you know, it can net like many things, you know, such as say, you know, it could be a music for the channel, or, you know, that I like, you know what I mean? But what we're looking for is stuff that is missing that I did not have cataloged on my data system and that sort of thing like that. So when I did the initial grab, I don't know when I did the initial grab, but this is what I know or remember. It was not the same agenda as today. It was kind of grab the important stuff and get going, and then get out. I don't remember exactly how it went down or which deck I used. And when I found out this deck was broken, I looked for the deck that I had before, you know, when I was a kid type of thing, or in high school, that has like my old stickers on it, and to see if that works. That was nowhere to be found. I don't know what happened to it. Oh well. It was a lot simpler design. If something went wrong with it, fix it. It was just time that you had to put the pressure down to get the playheads to go, that sort of thing. So look at that. So we pulled that much off of that roller, 100%. I mean, I'm just kind of using what I got. Alcohol might dry it up a little bit much, but I mean, because it is rubber, I mean, but use it lightly to get the crud off, if you will, because this crud could cause interference. Now, also with it all, even in cleaning, you're taking a risk because the thing is the how it grabs the heads and this, that, and the other, and how it affects that could affect the the ability to drip it and that sort of thing. So hopefully, just a light, just get that material, whatever it was. I guess it's residue from what would be the tape, the plastics or such in that arena. Okay, so back to what we were. All right, so now we got to get the main head here and the record head and the race head. Just as a precautionary measure. And look at that. Look at that. I don't know if you can see that, but what I'll tell you from what my standpoint is, there's a little bit of like brownish on the cotton swab here from just the heads alone. So in this project, did I want to be hearing any of that in the capture? And just to explain what the capture is, it is I had this set up to where I'm going to hook it into my IK multimedia device, and I'm just going to capture what the audio that comes from this in a way that I could kind of load it into my DAW. For those that don't know what a DAW is a digital, audio recording software that kind of allows you to do your track-to-track recording on the screen and that sort of thing. Real convenient to be able to do this on the computer because it allows editing capabilities and this, that, and the other. And that's another topic we could talk about as well. It was a learning curve when I did it. It was fun, but yeah. Let's see here. I think what we have is we have the plain deck. Now, before I even go further, the thing is, there's these little guards here. We're going to pull them. I don't know how to pull them. I don't want to mess anything up. What these guards do is they detect what the status is in terms of, is there a tape in the deck? Is it recordable on either or side? And different things like that. JVC, for some reason, on the report deck, decided to put 5 of these units. On the play deck, JVC decided to put 2. So what does that tell me about this here? So you kind of have to do a little math in the head, right, and look in terms of the sensors and functions. So let's go back to the playhead, and it would be like, hey, we got if the tape is here, and something else. That's it. But it's like you have to, just kind of, but it's not really needed here nor there, not that important in the grand scheme of this operation. Okay. We're not that bad on time. So I'm gonna pull this over here for a second and look at it closely to determine what it's gonna take in terms of, take a close look. I think one of the things that would be helpful is a magnifying glass. And if you don't have a magnifying glass, you could kind of use the photo thing on the cell phones, the photo software that comes with your cell phones these days, you kind of zoom in to what you need to see. If you, um, so I'm gonna have to like kind of use the light here, and I'm gonna use my phone to kind of get an idea. A little close up with the sensor. All right, so we just to recap, we dusted the face of the deck out, and we checked the mechanical abilities of the deck and such. We cleaned the heads. I want to talk about this piece here. I forgot to get that little piece here. I'm glad I caught that right now because to get it back together, and then it wouldn't have been a big deal in the grand scheme of things. What else? It's just you want to make sure. And what I was talking about is the the this assembly that kind of comes down on the tape and stuff. It's the big flywheel with the little spindle that comes out. I guess you call it capstan or so. Yeah, and yeah. So next thing is we need to figure out from the data that we just looked at how exactly do these pieces come off. So we'll start with an example. And we want to be gentle, we don't want to damage anything. There's no replacement parts available. There's nothing you want to be careless. We do not have a spare unit around. If you break it, it makes things a little bit difficult. You know what I mean? These all parts are where they are for a reason. And I could, I get it. All right, so they're smart. They protected these. But what we have to do basically is we have to get these plastic pieces off. I don't remember exactly how or know exactly how I would. So I'm gonna kind of grip it. One of the hard things to do is get a grip on it. But the thing that's important is you don't want to rip anything out. You know what I mean? Because once it goes back to how am I going to source this? So what I'm thinking is we could take something like this, like, and this it's good to have like things around. We could carefully just see what can we do with that. I don't know. I don't even think that's gonna help the situation. But these things gotta come off for me to get my file in there. See, we could clean this off. So what do we do? All right, so then we wonder what these black pieces are. Okay, what's the significance of that? We don't know. Okay, we'll have to take a closer look. Take a closer look. We're 68 minutes in, and here, and it's good that different things have different colors and textures because that just makes it easier to see how it acts. All right, I think I got an idea. I got a couple of. I'll pull this back first. Getting a lead, but sometimes I have to pull things back just with this. All right. I watched a video on it, but I was kind of like, okay, yeah. Okay, so it's not. Okay, I think I got an idea. Dude, I don't know if I want to do it this way, but I just want to. We want to see an example. We could get one. How we get, it wants to come. Yeah, because its guard here is getting in the way of what I want to do. You have to kind of see how it's connected. As far as the extent of what you take apart, I don't think we're going to go any further than we need to because then it was kind of overdoing it. So I don't get at These sensors are actually critical to this. Um, and I need to see the state of these sensors, even though they seem to have been well protected. And here's my reasoning for doing so. Um, this thing used to work well, and then we just shelved it, and then now it doesn't work, and stuff deteriorates. But it kind of didn't make any sense until I took a close look at this, determined that this is not just a tape deck, but it's a computer in a tape deck in a sense, and it has things that it responds to. Oh, so why can't they put this stuff in here so tight? Once you figure out how to do one, I guess you get them all. Maybe if and at the same time, I keep the integrity of the unit, break anything. It's not a simple grab and pull because it's like it's your finger sweat will kind of make it difficult. And maybe like just go easy with these, but not put too much pressure just to see where it will go, just to work on the slippage issue. But be real careful. You don't want to break any part of it. Just kind of be gentle. Where that will go. So it's not really going far, and I'm not really comfortable with that. Well, so we have to try another route, if you will. Yeah, because the connections in there, we don't know what got up in there. I just want to get in there and kind of take a quick see. So, get a pull. It doesn't want that way. And even just working with this, you get an idea how stuff is put together, or different ways to put stuff together. All right, so now I'm gonna look at this tool here. Just to be very, it won't even let me get in that. So how is this? And this is kind of where like I said, a magnifying glass. Shed some light on the situation here, because it's like it's notched. Okay, it's just one little thing. This way, like disconnect. I don't know. Seems to be pretty tight. Do the thing now. I don't know ways I could do this. Thing I could do. I don't know if this is a good idea. Spread them things and see if there's bars up. Yeah. Um, but it's critical because it's not really a dust issue, but it could be a corrosion issue, and it's two different shades of plastic. Well, unclear. I'm just back here taking a close look at it. And I'm trying to get a mental picture of what exactly makes these covers. Tag sensors, and I'm seeing where the notch, and I'm just gonna like sit back, try to pull an example one. See, it could be pulled out that way, but also too, that keep in mind that not even come take a little break to figure this out. Okay. All right. Been here. We did that. Okay. So yeah, it's a corrosion thing that I think heck, and combat that corrosion. You would get these off. Eh, Yeah, nothing's given. Nothing's given. Nothing at how would I? Where does it? Yada yada. Situation. It's like a puzzle, you know. Get close to. 100% sure that anything that I would move. Plastic piece goes on a just to get an idea. Those little plastic pieces that go down. Hard to determine exactly how they're connected, but we gotta press on to get at these. Cover a way to pull. No give there. No give there. Okay. Um. Okay. Get these units. Tag. Version. That's the even like a little bit. Also, so close together. But that's down here where it meets the board. Here, you'll be able to get that and get a little clean. What would make and the thing is, every part must look the same. Pull it out when I put it back together. That's it. So I'm not getting not. It's not check the state of the corrosion of these things before I put it back together. Because I would hate to put it back together and end up in the same situation with no play button, or not the play button, but no play function. The play button works, but no play function. That's it. So, let me take a look and think about this for a second. And on top of it, too. We even get it. And these kind of situations to see how is this fixated, and you have to kind of think it out a little bit. Yeah, maybe what does getting this unit free? Nothing. All right. So also, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. 79 minutes in video, and I can't get these little things off the sensor. I didn't anticipate that one. That's fun. I ain't done. It will take me all night. It will take me all night. So good. I just want to take that. Nobody showed up. That's cool. All right. All right. All right, something. Whoa! It just kind of came off. So it was a matter of reaching in. I just happened to have a thumbnail. Reach in, pulled, maneuvered it a little bit. If you got this, but you gotta kind of, and it'll come. You gotta be easy on it, but you gotta use kind of a little bit force too. So that, sorry it took so long to get to that point in operation, but this is kind of the stuff that you're gonna run into. It wasn't really anything this, that, or the other. We're gonna pull them all off, and then we're gonna do the kind of the same thing. It doesn't sound pretty or anything of that nature when you do it this way or whatever. If anybody knows of a better way, please comment in the chat. Um, this one is not so in terms of, oh, okay, because I didn't hit the release. And the board is very delicate, and so you have to, keep in mind that it wants to bend and this, that, and the other, but you don't want cracks, you don't want it to break or anything like that. And when the circuit board cracks or this, that, and the other, you might get like a crunch or something, but you don't want to hear that crunch because it could kind of kill the whole thing, if you will, considering the lack of, manufactured parts for this device means its age. So, yeah, all right. So, in reality, that actually came out a lot smoother, and you actually learn as you go what to do. It's kind of a feel thing. You got to feel what it's a mechanical, physical feel thing, whereas you got to feel what's happening in order to make a decision on what to do next. Like this one, it's so easy. So you want to move it around a little bit. It's common, but it's not. And the reason why is put too much pressure on my thumb. So there's a tool that we could use to kind of achieve that function, if you will. All right, so get the pressure in there and see if we can kind of pull it out, I guess, and it comes right out. Hopefully, there shouldn't be no broken pieces or nothing like that. If you do have broken pieces, then you got a problem and you did it wrong and you broke something, okay? And in a situation like this, you're gonna pay somebody else's price to get the replacement parts that you need. It may make the situation more complicated than it needs to be. All right. Now, the reason I pulled those off is, I guess you could say, these are kind of like copper. We got to make that connection, yada, yada, yada. So, ideally, you want to do this with like sandpaper. I guess you have more flexibility. But just, I guess the best thing to do is to kind of get in there and make sure these, just get a little rub, make sure there's nothing. And in terms of corrosion, it's going to be tight in terms of the plastic pieces and that the other, but make sure that you're rubbing only this copper piece or so. Like you hear that scratching noise, and then you want to make sure you kind of do the same up here. I'm not getting particular on the grit of this, but we don't want to spend all night doing it, you know what I mean? But even just a little bit here helps to ensure that a connection is made. I'll put that down. Maybe we can go so far as to maybe blow something out here. And it's a little much, but at the same time, you don't know what's in there, right? So we have these 5 pieces, and to indicate that I've completed that task for this particular piece here, I'm gonna go ahead, make sure you have it inserted properly. You gotta pay attention to where you took it out and this, that, and the other, and just get these guards in. You gotta cover, I guess, the pieces and such, so that, and you wanna ensure that it works. the same and feels kind of the same as when you took it out. Let's see. I don't like the fact that and I want to find it wrong. But the reason why is because I was hitting it wrong. So once I do that operation, I'm going to put that piece right on and kind of prepare to reassemble this device and hope for the best, if you will. And same operation here, it's a flexible piece of, so you can bend it a little bit, get it conveniently located. You just want to get any, you know, crud or corrosion and ensure that a connection can be made. Because this, if I didn't recognize this aspect of this device, then, and while you're at it, since these devices are right next to each other, it doesn't hurt to hit the next one right next to it and get that stuff kind of, scraped away and such. And we're gonna go for there, and kind of do the same thing. Make sure we get some friction on the top of the connector, and then make sure we didn't miss anything. Okay, I'm tired of that particular section, or I think I've worked that section pretty good enough. So while I'm at it, I'm gonna get the duster, make sure we blow away any debris in that specific. We blow away any debris in that specific zone, and then we carefully grab these here plastic protector pieces, covers, and just throw them away. Which one you pulled it from, and this, that, and the other, they're all kind of the same kind of piece, and they should all fit the same, so it doesn't matter. It's nothing like that. It's not something that serious. Everything must be okay. First of all, everything must be in this thing, and it must be put on the proper direction, and just kind of wiggle it around. Eventually, like, it'll kind of snap gently into place, and then it's back just like we left it, or back just kind of like we found it. Let's see here. We are gonna do the same for this since we already dusted it and cleaned it. Gonna roll that in there, and kind of roll it around, kind of swing it back and forth like that. All right. Now we are going to go for the final two sensor connectors, if you will, for this deck. And it's gonna be like, I'm gonna take this file, it'll get in there. It's kind of like sandpaper. This is all I have around the house, so I'm gonna use it, so that's why. Get in there, gonna be a little struggle. Work around the plastic pieces, going for the top, get any quick little hit on that corrosion, and go down on the bottom piece with that corrosion. Make sure you're careful. The aspect of metal fatigue comes into play if you do too much bending, but it's not that extreme, really. Let's just skip this down here. Bottom piece, they put the pressure down. And even you could be efficient once you understand the dynamics of the situation. You can actually hit both of those at the bottom at once. You could flip it, and you could hit the top pieces as well. I'm gonna roll that back and forth just a little bit, get any little bit of corrosion off. Any kind of debris, you want to dust it out. It's kind of a repeat of the same thing. Be consistent. So, and blow that dust out. Go around in there. Go around in back here. Clean out anything. Alright, so in reality, we have hit all objectives for this deck. For those that, you know, are catching a replay this, that, or the third, or running around in this, that, and the other, um, we got the deck out of the piece. We air dusted this assembly here as far as the deck itself is concerned, the face, get the crud and the dust out. Then we did some alcohol on the rollers, and you know, just cleaned the stuff off of there. We didn't use too much, but it was just more to get the debris and like kind of stuff that was kind of like caked on there off that could screw up the tension and things when you're running tape, so to speak. We also cleaned the head, the record head, and the race head situation, and then we cleaned the servos, certain sensors that determine the status of the tape, whether it's in the deck, the recordable deck tape, or what not have you for both sides. Now I have cleaned those. We're going to assemble the final assembly as far as this is concerned. I'm going to make sure all these are secure. You got to kind of, when you took these things off, you got to remember what you did to a certain extent, how they felt, what to expect when putting them back on. And then what happens is, you know, you have like a deck that is in better shape. I mean, at least you have a deck that's in better shape physically than when you pulled it out the basement. Good thing. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go back to putting, before I do that, there's a little element of cleaning that I wanted to hit too as well, in terms of the plastic and the case assembly and everything. And the cool part was, I was looking at taking off the door, but it actually turned out to be really unnecessary, and it was hard to determine the mechanics of the door for me. Once I determined that this would come separately from the door without interference or anything like that, I said, hey, that's not that. So let's clean it out as far as dust is concerned. Yeah. All right. And it's funny how we had the same issue on both sides of the deck, so I don't know what, I don't know exactly why it occurred to this side or the other, but one of those things that just kind of say, okay, this is what I've learned, what I can do so far. So the next thing we can do is pay attention to what we took off. We have like a couple of screws to look that go into plastic. You could tell the different screws and what they do. Just, you know, you kind of look at the I guess you could say application in terms of what is the purpose of this screw. It's, in this case, to affix this metal piece to plastic. So when you do that, the threads on the screws are a little bit you know, spread further apart, and that's what you're dealing with. Now we have to determine the appropriate hole, okay, where the hole is to put this unit as first screw is concerned. And this is very important that you don't miss ground wires. What ground wires do is when the hot gets used up, you got to return the ground. That's how electronics work. Like a really elaborate short where the energy from that short is used to accomplish a task. In this case, something complex is running it. You got to run the motors, you got to run the servos, you got to run the chips and everything else in between. And it's a real big short. You can use a short to generate heat, sort of thing. All right, so that deck's done. What I want to do is take a look at how it's all put back together. I want to see the cleanness. Now the face, I mean, we could do it a little bit of justice while we're at it, because it's got some battle scars, if you will. I like my stuff to look pretty. And since we're going to be working with this and touching this, ew. Okay, sure. Got a little cut going somewhere's in the process. I get it. It's enough business. Sometimes you could expect that. I don't know how I did it, but it's like once I pulled out the rubbing alcohol, which might not, I don't know what this is on here or any of that, because it just, I don't know, you know, it should not. I mean, it's old, yeah, I get it. Battle scars, yeah. But I'm gonna just clean it up as best as I can. I want the crud of 20 years or 2 decades on the unit, and don't follow this example. I mean, maybe there's other, you know, things that are better for the plastic, but I just want to get this crud off, you know. Very important. I mean, this is not the finished final product. I just want to. It's not something that you could. Most of it. The only problem with it, right, is it doesn't want to go away. You know. All right. So, recap. This is solid. It's not going anywhere. I open this up per se. This part ultimately is clean. It looks a lot better than when I first grabbed it. So on that, I think we got a chance. I think we got a chance. And the challenge of this is like a puzzle. We have to put it back together. So we are 97 minutes into the stream, and it's time to go to this deck here, which would be kind of the play deck. Now, in the process of doing the first deck, I paid attention. What gave me trouble with this, that, and the other is angles, this, that. Let's get going. We ain't got all night here. The whole purpose of this stream is to get a working tape deck that I can hit a play button, get some play, as far as that's concerned, music-wise. To get the old music and such. Now, as before, since this wire here is the ground wire with a screw, it's no big deal. It doesn't hurt to like kind of just set that aside so you know what that's about. I like the way this is assembled. It's really, in the end of the day, it's not that hard to get at. I mean, because once I learned that you should be able to just kind of, yes, you know, pull the deck out once you get those two screws, it made that all the much more convenient. So yeah, the only thing is there should not be anything in here. So you have to fight it a little bit. Let's find out. Okay, find out what's holding it, and don't fight it too hard, but see what it is, and pull it out. And let's see. So what's holding it in? What's holding it in? I don't like what I'm seeing. It shouldn't be that difficult, but it looks like some kind of hidden screw. But no, it's not that. It's a matter of working at it and determine exactly either way. There it is. All right. The trick is this release here made it that much easier. It's spring loaded and that, so I made it all that was the trick. All right. So here we are. We got this deck out now. We are gonna do kind of the same routine that we did before. First, we're gonna hit the dust, get some of this out. All right. And then I have the option to go, gonna go to do the alcohol treatment. Now, you could say, hey, like you take your risk on one bet, if you will, and see what you get. But here's the thing with that: if this operation, um, if you took your chance on that one deck, and that one deck that you worked on did not work, but you had two decks, you like wasted your time, right? So since we have two decks and have this all apart, looking nice and whatnot, we could go ahead and we may as well do, the practice on the other deck. But at the end of the day, if one of the other deck does not work for some reason unknown to me, then you know, it's not a big deal because you got the other one since you had two. But when I fire this up, I don't know what to expect because this is a lot different than the take apart a computer thing. It's not, it's clear cut and dry. You have to kind of do some investigating, and thanks to the fact that we do have internet, I'm able to actually do the research to do projects like this. Now, when I was a kid, something like this came across my desk. We didn't have Google or the internet, this or the other. Didn't have a real friend that was into this sort of thing. But there were people that I knew of that would do this sort of work or did electronic repair, that type of thing. But I was the only one that would in my neighborhood that at these young ages that would want to pick up stuff and kind of figure out the mechanics of it and that sort of thing. So let's go with the so what we got here is I'm gonna go with the playhead and just get started there. Get that out the way. Look at the shape of it, make sure it's in good shape. And you can see the amount of material as far as smudge you can see on the Q-tip. And then while we're at it, we're going to go for the rollers too because there's a lot of stuff on there that we want to check. It's the same difference, I try to hit them at an angle that rotates them, but additionally cleans off the dust as well. So you want to put a little friction on it. And for cosmetics, I might hit the front a little bit just to make sure that it looks okay, this sort of thing. At this point of the night, I'm getting tired, and but the whole thing is we're gonna finish this, and it's not gonna take us too long, but we're not gonna rush it. We're gonna take our time, even if it takes a few more hours. But I don't think we're at that point where it would take a few more hours. But where we are is, you know, we can actually, put this back together because one of the things that you could kind of compare this to is like when you go driving somewhere or you take a trip with someone and you got to do a road trip. It's like knowing how to get there and knowing how to get back, or dealing with a puzzle, knowing how to put it together and knowing how to, pull it apart, such type of thing. And for me, I guess it was a short-term memory thing. Like, it's like I just seen what I just did. It isn't advantageous for me to take it apart, wait for a part, and leave it sitting, and then like come back to it later. No, I'd rather get the parts and then like have it, review in my mind, kind of like what I did with this project, kind of the scope of what I'm gonna do, and see what happens in that regard. I think we're done with that wheel. Also, too, do not forget this part that touches the wheel that's driven by that flywheel. I'm not expecting a perfect squeaky clean, but any little bit of debris and smudge or tape material that kind of, because there's a little bit of friction and rub that kind of rubs the tape and kind of rubs the brown off the tape, if you will, onto the machinery, such as these wheels and rollers and things like that. So that's what we would hope to get cleaned off today, because At first, when I looked at it, it seemed a bit foul. But then, it's not as bad as what I mean, because in general, we took care of our stuff. But then when I googled the internet for the problem that I was having with this, just to get a little research in, I was quite surprised by the amount of material regarding that. I saw some videos, and I actually watched a couple of videos. That was very helpful. I took the best of both of those videos kind of as a guideline to kind of get me started here on what I'm about to do. All right, so we did all of this, the rollers, this, that, and the other. And just check on, make sure it's smooth and everything like that. It doesn't hurt to maybe hit down with some dust to go along at this angle. All right, and while we're here, I kind of want to like go for the, like the mechanics. I just want to check that there's no seizure of like a motor or so. In this one, like so we got like drive. So we got motor powers, that and the other. So no seizure on that, so that works. Nothing obvious there. Um, So you have the motors that drive the head units and this, that, and the other. The reason I would have, like said, I could have demonstrated at the beginning what the deck does. It's kind of like a yada, yada, yada. But in the interest of time, I started pulling pieces as far as connections, and I didn't want to stop, so I went forward. All right, so the one thing that we need to do in order to get this finished up is to we're going to pull those plastic pieces off of the sensors, the same as we did the other one. We don't know exactly what sensor does what, but how did I do it before? I recall correctly. All right, the key is to get in here, this piece up. Now be careful, as in there's gonna be some give this, that, and the other. I don't like the way that went. Okay, so this is a little special in that we are going to check to make sure there's no crackage. I don't like the way that came up either, to be honest with you. All right, so in that case, because the filling isn't correct, I'm going to reach my nail and do that thing again, and just kind of you to get these down. You get your nail or whatever, and you kind of work that piece, and then you push this down. Nothing breaks. It sounds like something's breaking, but it doesn't break. It comes right out, and no pieces are falling other than what you took off. So I'm going to do the same thing. Get my thumb in there, lift that flat piece up, and press down. And I didn't know anything about that until now. For those that run into this issue or so, thank me later in the comments. Thank you. All right, so this deck, the same as that deck. Belts are fine. I didn't see the point in getting the kit. All right, let's get going with the cleaning of these sensors. We don't know the state of the corrosion, but this could have been the issue because of the corrosion. I think, of course, whether something sits used or unused, the corrosion factor can occur depending on the amount of moisture that you store this in, and whatever sensor is responsible for the play function, which it could be either one of these two, was not getting the signal. I suspect that's what it was. It wasn't a seizure issue. It wasn't a mechanical issue. The motors, if you didn't put power to the motors in years, but they sat, I don't see them being blown, But anyway, okay, so as before, all right, just to make sure I didn't miss anything, I'm going to work this other side. Just a real quick one. I know I did, but I want to make sure we get it all. Okay, feel the friction. of the grit of this file, and we just gonna like blow dust regarding. All right, now I think we were finished. Recap. We did the same thing as we did for the first deck. We just went for the rollers and for the head alcohol. So I had, I couldn't think of it. Of course, I would love to, of course, you know, replace. But we're just gonna have to make do because it isn't every day I'm gonna use this thing. It's, you know, just get a few through, get some tapes, catalog them into what I have now, do what I need to do. So, you know, gonna get these in, make sure it's secure. Same thing. Now, when I pulled it, I had to reach in there, and my nail came handy, and to lift this black tab up to release it. Somehow that worked. But in doing so, it wasn't just lifting that. If you lift it and pulled straight out, like I was doing for the longest time, looking like a fool, it didn't exactly work. So all pieces that you pull are critical. Make sure you return. That's, I haven't been always as good at. I've had situations where I ended up with more screws or additional screws, if you will, after assembling something. We try not to screws. So we take good accountability for all those screws. Now, before I put this piece back in, I'm gonna kind of take a look and get in here, get it, a little dust. And then at this point we are wow, 2 hours. It took a 2 hour, it took a 2 hour. Yeah, we're almost 2 hours in, ladies and gentlemen. Um so look at this. We are going to put it back together. Um so it's pretty much the way it came out is the way it's going back in. All right, let's get everything put properly so it could work with me. I just want to get this out of my hand and get it kind of in place. Line it up like you know, just look at the other deck as a reference. And that's the other thing too. The reason why I only took out one deck at a time is for to have a simple reference of what is supposed to be going on. Okay. All right, so that does that for the Q-tips, as we don't need them anymore. We've done our job with the Q-tips. Now, the thing is, we got this screw here. We want to get that in, and I left that ground wire screw off to the side, and you know, like I almost forgot for a second there. You know what I mean? But the photographic memory alerted me to, hey, there was a screw there with a wire. You put that to the side. Where is it? You know. All right, now we got the other screw in its place, and it's critical that you put every screw back. If you say drop the screw in this case, this will be a really critical screw because, I mean, smart that JVC used 2 screws. They could have used more screws, but I think they were like the more screws you use, it drives up the cost of the unit. But I'm not complaining because it's fixated. It does the job. It stays in there. It's a solid piece. So we've blown this piece out numerous times. Let's see. You can check, you know, security of these connections. So yada. All right. So we are kind of ready to kind of go and start the reassembly process for this unit. This it won't be long now, but the trick to reassembling a unit is it kind of goes back to that memory thing. I remember kind of exactly what I did when I did it, or not exactly. I remember what I did. Okay, slide the, you know, the ribbon wires in gently Also, too, be careful not to touch too much of this stuff if you can help it. Like your fingers and stuff, they do like sweat. So, because I made that mistake, I might want to go over that a little bit, or have a fingerprint of mine in the window, even though it's not really that big of a deal. Oops, I just made another frame. All right, back now. Even though it's not that big of a deal, because it's kind of a, you know, an afterlife project for this unit, as in, I mean, sorry, I love the technology for what it did my life. Okay, now this is the tricky part. All right, putting this in, there are numerous connections that you have to make for this all to work. It's very complicated, and the geometry in terms of, okay, you got to kind of maneuver this piece together, and the connections that you have to make, they were smart, and as these boards, these servo boards and such, and sensor boards have to make a connection to this board. If anything is not making a proper connection to this board for any reason, whether it be one little this, that, or the other, all the way down to the ground, it will not work. Now the other thing you have to remember too is there's, I guess, a tension. But I don't like the way that went. It kind of just slipped in wrong, and gravity kind of held it there. So we need to take a look at what's happening. All right, so it's a matter of lining up these things here, and it should not be that difficult. So I'm going to take it back, and I think I'm going to focus one side at a time. You might have to, say, put some finger strength in. You might have to maneuver things around a little bit. And you might have to just open your eyes or fall back and look, see what's happening that's precluding the proper connection of this unit. All right, and then the other thing you have to contend with, eyes will get blurry, which sometimes that happens. Okay, now we made a connection there, and we should be able to make it there. We did. All right, so that's beautiful. It's an art form. So I'm confident that this part of the unit is good. I think that we would need to flip it over here. Make sure it's here. Look at the front. And then go for the screws that we pulled out. And what we were looking for is some small type, metal, the circuit board, the ground. So this looks accurate to my photographic memory, and it fits. So I'm gonna proceed with screw. Also, too, if you get up in a situation where you're confused, there are actually little screw markings to tell you exactly where to put the screw, so that you don't put the wrong, the wrong hole situation. That works out well. So the way that this deck was put together was genius. I give major props to people that design things like this. Engineering is quite a fun deal. All right, so now we are going to put the face back on carefully. So I'm gonna move the face to the side. And bring chassis, motherboard, power supply, etc. in its place. I'm gonna remove this towel, and we're gonna kind of what we have. We're gonna get things back together. I think the first thing we would want to do is we're gonna get the face on, right? On that out the way. Like it came off, it kind of slid frontwards. Like I had to work with it a little bit, but somehow it came off sliding front. Make sure I'm not missing anything. All right, so I'm kind of ready to go with this. I'm gonna back this up because the camera thing is there as far as the the thing that holds the camera, and we're gonna get this home free with because we're pretty much done the meat of the issue, I guess, and we're gonna have to slide this back in and make it click like it did or whatever. It's got to be fixated because that's the start. I think we got it. I didn't hear a major click now. I'm gonna lift the face up. It should not be as flimsy. It should slide on. It's going what it was doing before, so we know we got that part of it correct. Now, how was it? Oh yes, oh yes. Before we even like attempt to connect anything, I'm going to rotate the unit over on its top to get the bottom screws in. Now, what I do nowadays for these type of situations is I pay attention to the screws, what they are, and how I lay them out. And what it is I recognize there's 3 black screws that went in the bottom, and so we're gonna go for that. So there we go. There we go. And I guess there's another screw there. And yeah. All right, so there we go. There we go. We got the screw in. Okay. So now, what was flimsy is now like firmly held in place thanks to the screws, but we're not out of the woods yet, right? So now the next things to do is you're going to connect one of the hardest things to connect, and shine this all down there so you can see what I'm doing, is where the head goes and meets the main board. The reason why is because you have to, it's at an angle, it doesn't want to, it's like it may not want to line up, but luckily because of the way the design is, you can get it inserted, you know what I mean, and work with either or hand. Be careful not to twist, bend, or pull too hard, and everything slides in place, just like that. And then you have to kind of do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to rotate the unit and bring the work to me kind of situation, whereas I don't have to work, reaching that far to make, the leverage work. So now you have to think like the system as you are working it. So what we are connecting essentially is the heads to the sound processing board section, whatever. It's like the motherboard. Okay. Then we want to, while everything's accessible, there are like, I'm bringing this back a little bit. I don't know if the camera does it justice, but there are, maybe I can get my mirror, right? And you don't want to forget a thing. So, we got this in, it's secure as far as the heads for the recording deck, you got the heads for the play deck, all the servos are connected from here to, to the board, this, that, and the other. So we have these things down here. If you could see, they are it has something to do with the knobs at the front on that panel. So it might be a song thing, or it's weird how they did it. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like you just kind of line it up, and maybe I can make it a little. You line up the connection, and it lines up nicely. Make sure it's firmly in place. And on this other side, you want to do the same thing. Okay, now, also, you want to throw this one in too, which has to do something with the sound fidelity. I don't like the way it connected, but I'm going to try again. I guess that's as tight as it's going to get. All right, and oh, you don't want to forget to connect the display and that control as such. So everything, and also double check your connections, confirm that they are firm and that nothing's missing. Also too, if you are in the chat, then you could say one more thing. What did we forget? Well, we didn't really forget. We just kind of kept it organized to save it for last. Would be the ground wires. So now it becomes a question of, okay, I don't know exactly what screw I used for that. All right, well, let's see. We have two screws here. They actually are fitted for the purpose. They are laid out in such a way on my magnet that I know what when I pull them out. It's kind of like a breadcrumb trail, if you will. And these little magnets that pads that hold the screws in place are a godsend because it makes this whole thing so much easier. And so now I'm just going to hold the screw in to get the ground, I guess. And this is ground from deck A, or the play deck. Very critical. Like all the connections would not work unless we make that secure connection to ground. Very important. You'll make sure that's like tight, reasonably tight, but do not strip the screw. Now, I don't know what I saw, but this looks weird to me. I don't know, it's like angled or something, but I don't know. Is it bent? I don't even want to rebend it because of that fatigue metal issue, metal fatigue. So when I'm doing projects like these, I actually recheck all connections to make sure that I'm not missing a thing. And we have one final ground connection to make for this device, and that would be to the case. One went through the motherboard to the case. Now we have to make a straight one to the case from the recording deck. So that's cool. So let's go. All right. So I'm ready to screw this in. We are reaching, I guess, what you would call the sunlight of this project. The only thing we could hope for is that our efforts yielded us something that we could use in terms of a tape deck. At the end of the day, it's fun. I got some content, but I'm not really keen to open this unit up and troubleshoot because of this, that, or the other. So we have all the connections. Not a single wire is missing, loose, or this, that, or the other. Not a single hanging connection. Everything's connected, and you got to think of it as system-wide, as the fidelity at the front, as far as those switches are concerned, are connected with this weird arrangement of ribbon wires and whatnot. Additional cabling, same thing. The heads, play and record for those units are connected at the corner of the motherboard. And then you have the ground for the units connected in their proper place. And I think that's it. Okay. The next couple of things that we're going to do is we're going to basically wrap this up in the form of closing the lid. And just hoping for the best in this situation. Right. So we don't know what to expect. Heck, it may blow up. I don't know. I don't usually deal with this type of stereo equipment. If you need some stereo equipment fixed or something like that, this is kind of like a channel to do it. I don't really get into the stereo equipment very often. It's kind of very old school and not something I don't know. But it was a necessary thing at the time. And from the tape decks where you had to put the pressure to get the head in place, and those were quite a bit. All right. So what's going on here? Okay, there we are. Gotta make sure everything lines up properly. Before we so what we're doing is just basically getting the case back together. Waiting to understand what the mechanics are. What we do shouldn't be too. Okay, there we go. We got it to line up. There's a lot of flex, of course. We gotta kind of put things down to hold pressure down. So yeah. And it wants to give problems on that end. The part of working with old stuff is, but at the end of the day, try not to force. Just get it to do what it needs to do, but do not strip screws. Perfect. But we go. Gonna get this side, flip it to the other side. Do like this. But I'm gonna drop this mouse. I guess make it easier. Of course, it's been sitting for the geometry. Such things go. Flex on top of that. So this day, know what we did. Good. Let's go for it. Okay. Only thing I want is the play function to work. Good. All right, so the same thing. Side. I'm gonna flip it on its side, just so I can have better leverage. Just kind of put the side screws. It has some like kind of corroded screws to put in the back. That corrosion thing is real. Unit could sit, parts could corrode, answers could like, you know, this, that, and the third happens. So I mean, I had a PS Vita, like, and used it in a while. I was like, trying to sell it, you know. All right, so hope. All right, so this unit is almost up. There are a couple other screws that are at the back. I do a little bit. Maybe get that. It's no roll or nobody. All right, so getting the final screws in. Some of these screws, I want to get every screw in that I pulled out. These screws don't even want to go. It's crazy. So, around just, you know. will it go in this one? I mean, it came out. Lucky it came out. All right, whatever. Couple of corroded screws. I'm not worry about them. The only thing left for us to do now is to just test it out. Anything beyond what I did, and there's no play, then it would lead me to some other data. All right, so we got the I'll just say the red light that indicates, I guess, standby. Let's see if we got power. I wish I could do something to show it to you, but the way the camera is wired, I'll just kind of, I only got one camera. So hit the power button. We have display. We've got the normalcy. All right. Let's bring out like that Jane's Addiction tape and see if it light functions. That's all. And wrap this up and go to bed. Hit the eject button. And forward works, on works, stops. And it looks like it's playing, much to my surprise, as normal. I'm very happy about this. Hey man, I don't care that none of y'all didn't show up for my stream. We got a signal. I got something to work with. It's all good, dude. All right. So, yeah. So, let's stop it here. So, play, stop, rewind works on the record deck. And now, I wish I could like bring the camera down and show you. I'm sorry I can't do that because you know, and I can't flip it up, this, that, and the third. So, we're gonna do the same thing on the just kind of all the functions before it work. Stop. We got a signal and it's playing on that side as well. So the lesson learned here is even if you don't use electronics or certain electronics, things tend to corrode and cause you an issue. And really good investigation, and like, I mean, with these days we have the internet, you know what I mean? So other people have ran into the same issue. It actually, you know, we'll research this and the other, and you put two and two together. I mean, because just to recap, what happened was I brought this up here, set everything up, and everything hit play, nothing happened as far as that's concerned. Hit rewind, fast forward, we got that to work, or that was working. Then I tried to search for another tape deck and that sort of thing. Couldn't find one because I don't know what happened to the other one. So the only option I had, and the only option I could accept, is to add some content to the channel and fix something old. This is tape deck. Also, be sure to stay tuned. If you are subscribed, feel free to watch the restream and all that good stuff. There's a lot of good information here. As a matter of fact, this is a restream that I want to watch so I could get some knowledge about what I'm doing and that sort of thing. So the tape deck is cleared. I'm going to push power on it. It goes back in the standby mode. I am going to pull the plug on it. And I am going to prepare to go to bed and listen to some tapes in the morning type thing. That's really all I got to do. So I'm going to shut it down as far as the stream is concerned. And I go to bed. Thank you all for being part and members of the channel. I'm going to try and get some more content up. It's going to be all kinds of different content. It's not necessarily all about tech. Remember that I am a human as well. And I am going to do some human related content. Some of it may be available in the memberships, and you could check into that too. We'll talk Thank you all for being a part of it. So I'm gonna hit the end the broadcast and all that good stuff right now. Make sure you're subscribed, hit the like, and this, that, and the other. Make sure you get our notifications and